Welcome everybody to today's live session. Today we'll be talking about the Digital Africa Coastline Service and how it can help you monitor the coastlines across Africa and across our big continent. So today's session is in English, and the session next week will be in French with my colleague Joseph, who will be presenting. So Digital Africa was set up 4 years ago, aimed at serving the various sectors from policymakers, scientists to civil society, and also empowering countries in their natural resource management. So the program has been worked with partners across the continent, especially on the validation of the various service, and it's a free and open service and working with everybody in the continent. Digital Africa is working with implementing partners across the continent. We have averages in Nigeria, Agreement in Niger, Center Suvi Ecology in Senegal, Regional Center for Mapping in Kenya, Observation du Sahel in Tunisia, AfriGeo covering the whole Africa, and the program is hosted by a research institute in South Africa. So the Digital Africa is powered by the Continental Services. First of all, we have the Landsat covering over 37 years from 1986. And also we have the Sentinel-2 from the year 2017. All these are available through the Open Data Cube technology and powered by Amazon Web Services. Based on this, Digital Africa has been able to develop various services, including the coastal service that we are going to present today. And the context in terms of Africa is that we have 38 countries are covered by the Coastline Service, and the opportunity here is that most coastal areas have grown over time due to various population, and more coastal communities are now vulnerable to climate change, and thus there is a need to see how the sea level rises and the rates of erosion, and also empower coastal managers in coastal management. So this is the Digital Africa Coastline Service, working closely with the Center Suvi Ecology in Senegal in terms of validation, and the Regional Center for Mapping, covering East and Southern Africa. And this is the first of its service in Africa. So we are looking at empowering these 38 countries to monitor their coastal areas. We are talking about 24 years of this service since the year 2000, and from this we're able to highlight a lot of opportunities for these countries, looking at the rates of change, looking at the hotspot, and also looking at the average changes of the shorelines of the different countries. So credit to our partners, especially the Center Suvi Ecology. This was part of the project with the West African Coastal Areas Management Program, which was covering 14 countries. And based on the work that they did, Digital Africa was able to help in scaling this up the whole continent, but more specifically with the validation that was put in, and also the position of working with different scientists to understand the validation. First of all, they used Landsat imagery, and recently they used Sentinel-2 up to the last year, November, as part of the reporting. So looking at Digital Africa coastline on the Digital Africa map, it's quite easy to access it, just showing you how to access it. On the Digital Africa map, you're able to look at the coastline service, you're able to add it, and also you're able to navigate and see how you can even export it to another service, especially web map services. And this is just looking at the various coastlines across Africa, moving from north to south to East Africa, looking at East African coast, looking at Mozambique, and also looking at South Africa, especially the hotspots in Durban, also looking at Angola, Rwanda, looking at Gabon, and also looking at Congo, and also moving to West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Accra, and just as an example of how you can access the service. So it's quite a good service, and you can see on the legend, you can be able to see what's happening. So this service is quite useful. As you can see, just an example of monitoring the coastline change of Namibia and other dynamics such as the mangroves, Mozambique, or in Madagascar. So we are looking at the 38 countries covered by the Coastline Service or part of your research work. So you could also even go in the tool and able to do some measurements And also now specifically just looking at one of the validation was done by some colleagues in Ghana, Accra. They were able to see some areas which were able to change over time, and they were able to compare this image with another high resolution imagery based on what our service was producing. So you can also access our Digital South Africa service in Sandbox. Here we have the coastal erosion and also looking at the coastlines. And when you talk about the erosion, we had an example of Fombon in Comoros, just giving you a simple workflow where we move from adding the imageries in your query, the Sentinel-2, and also where it's possible, it's able to merge with the Landsat imagery, and also possible to add in Sentinel imagery, Sentinel-1, and it's able to do a decision tree, which may take some time based on the area and availability of imageries, but ultimately to give you a very good result. As you can see for this example, an example of in Comoros, you can see the area and also you can see the result in terms of a coastline, and also moving to the example as well, you can see the results of the area, and also we could just look at how the notebook is viewed from your sandbox. It's in your real world folder. You have coastal erosion, and you're able to see the process, which might take some time based on the area you select. You could have the area in terms of coordinate or a shape file of the area. And also when you query the result, it takes some time to give you, you'll see the area for time, which could do 10 or less minutes based on a small area. And it will be able to mask out the area in terms of the mean difference water index, just giving you an idea of the boundary of the coast, then looking at the coastline, then it giving you the results, which now you're able to export or visualize. So it's quite a very nice process, fit for purpose, and it's for everyone to try and see how it works for your different situation. So based on this example, we also have, so here, this was an example of the coastal erosion. So we are currently recording this session, so apologies for anyone who might be muted. So we've demonstrated the coastline on the Digital Africa map. Now we're on the coastal erosion. I've seen the example in the sandbox. And then this is just an example of coastal erosion for a village for women in Ghana. This is quite of interest for partners at the University of Ghana, who've been very keen to see how the village has changed. And this particular map, they used the water observation from space to show how the change has been over time. And when just showing you on your folder data sets in the sandbox, we have a coastline tool, which when you run it, it'll be able to show you step-by-step guidelines and putting in your area of interest. So this one was from somewhere in Tangier in Morocco. And this is a very good shipping town and has grown over time. And some of the stakeholders wanted to know how this town has grown over time. And you can see in terms of the rates, either when it's red, very high rates, and when it's blue, it's a little bit stable. Then you also have an extra tool at the end of this where you can actually measure the change on the coastline, and you can actually do an extract, which is very key. And some of the results you can actually output and use in your Esri or QGIS program and create some maps for your different stakeholders. So the program here is actually to empower you to look at any possibility. This is an example of Dakar in Senegal, where we did the similar steps, as you can see, and you're able to load the coastline, different years, and looking at the rates in terms of statistics. And then finally, you can be able to extract the data and export and use either QGIS or Esri or other programs that you have. This is an example of a small town in Nigeria called Lekki. As you can see, it's quite a lot of change over time which could be attributed to a lot of developments in the coastal area, and also maybe the need of adding more mangroves or working closely with the communities. When you do the extract coastal extent, it's quite interesting because then you can actually be able to measure the distance. Some of them we've seen going as much as 50 or many meters, which can really be impactful to the communities. So this was just the other example I showed you for Accra, and this one I just chose to repeat it because you can see we are looking at a distance of around 40, even 50 meters. And here was an area where the government tried to rehabilitate and maybe remove some offices because of the vulnerability of the coastal communities. So what is new is we have the Digital Africa Coastline Dashboard, which is very useful because it will show you those 38 countries. And what is very useful is that it covers from the year 2000 to 2023, and you're able to see how the shoreline has changed over time. So this is just an example of the first country on the list. So you're able to click between different countries. And this is just an example when you click on South Africa, what you're able to see, how much has it retreated, or some of it has advanced, and you can see the population and the communities who are really impacted. So it's very, very nice when we are studying vulnerability assessments. And when we do the demo, you can be able to see moving from Angola to Namibia, moving also to different countries, and you can see the trend. This is the coastline itself. From the red, you can see really areas which are really affected, but also you can move between countries as well. So going to Angola, you can actually see how much has retreated as a coastline, and also you can see the advanced shoreline, and also you can see the impacted communities in terms of how vulnerable they are. And also the key message is to click on this line where it will actually, you'll be able to actually go also to the countries. And also with the prior knowledge we have, like Durban, KZN areas, quite areas which have been impacted, and you can see the numbers and the figures changing. We're also able to move just from South Africa to Mozambique, quite hotspot areas around Maputo, and also going to Beira and Xai-Xai, where we've also had a lot of effects from the cyclone recently, which is almost twice or three times in a year. And you can see quite areas which have been really affected. And you can also see also the numbers and the populations. Also with the tool, you can actually choose to maximize the screen or remove one screen, but also having something side by side is quite useful for comparison for different countries, understanding the dynamics between one country and another, what's happening in country X, country Y, and how communities can work together. Slightly moving from Mozambique, we could also move to Tanzania. As you can see, also affected mostly by the Indian Ocean currents. Looking at Mtwara, looking at Dar es Salaam, looking at Zanzibar, and also looking at Tanga and Pemba. And also then we can also move to Kenya, just the next in the east coast. We can see when we move up, you can see also the numbers, the coastline affected, not as big as the other one, but then you can see the affected numbers in terms of population. And also the areas in red, you can actually see areas which are really quite areas of attention. And in terms of Kenya, we are looking around Malindi area. Also moving to Somalia, you can be able to see some of the hotspot areas. Then also moving to Egypt, moving towards Alexandria port north, quite a busy area and an area which has really been affected. And you can see the numbers, how they change. And also from the colors, you can see quite areas of change, looking at Libya, and also moving to Northern Africa, and also moving to example, Nigeria. You can see the coastline itself and areas quite affected around Lagos, quite areas of a lot of activity. Looking also at Ghana, Port Novo in Nigeria. So it's quite a useful tool for us, and I'll put the link in the chat as well so that you can give us feedback, and also you can tell us what you'd like to see and how you'd like to use the tool for your communities or for your countries, or even for a use case that you're looking at, especially my friend Mamon from Sierra Leone. I know he's been working on something for Freetown, and you'll be happy to look at the tool and give us some quite feedback. So this tool is for everybody, especially the 38 countries quite affected by the coastline. So it was quite not a very long demo, but cognizant of the time we have as well, but also the opportunities for us to go through that. So we also have the same in the Africa Geoportal through our partner Esri. So they have demonstrated how the coastline is in another similar dashboard, which is also public. And also borrowing from that, they also provide us with idea of hotspot areas and communities affected, similar to what you've showed you, but now also based on an external data set that they have added in their platform. So they've also added some data on the land cover, which is very useful, giving you idea of built up areas, forests, and areas like mangrove. And when we look at this tool as a demonstration, we're able to see we're able to move from different countries. For example, starting from Egypt, Alexandria, North area, then moving to the peak, Tunisia. You can see some areas, some towns, quite hotspot areas in red. Then you can see the figures moving in terms of areas affected. Also looking at Morocco, looking at other countries, quite useful tool. And when you click on the right side, you can see the countries and how they are affected, and the shoreline and also hotspot areas and the statistics and the figures. So also they also give you the link to this tool as well, but the one we have is quite more refined as well. But it's all in the power of collaboration, different partners, so that this tool can really help most of us. So you could also look at changing between different layers, the shoreline impact, its classification, the rate of change, and also looking at impacted communities or impacted infrastructure. So this is a very useful tool for coastal managers as well as researchers and other stakeholders, very keen to see how we can bring in this tool into our work in terms of decision making, making sure we are more empowered, and also working with different communities to understand what other data needs that we require to add to your platform. So also looking at this, an example of Nigeria, where when you click the whole country, you can see the coastal area affected and also the statistics of the population and the mangroves, etc., etc. So this we could see the number of people vulnerable in terms of an example of Nigeria. And you can see the beauty of collaboration with Esri and other partners to add more data sets, and also opportunity for us to do more validation as we have continental data sets. So one of our partners, this is the South Africa Biodiversity, were able to do a coastline risk and probability map. And this was done last year, and they were able to show this in the province of KZN in Durban, the areas which were affected by floods and how communities are. This is also part of the program, working closely with the different sectors to for them to produce vulnerability maps, which are very useful to inform coastal resilience and also to inform the governments on how to be better prepared when disasters occur. Then also we worked closely with another journalist on a similar use case, but the journalist now was able to get more trends from the communities, especially in this particular area of Tikweni, getting statistics from as well as 1987. And what he was saying was that this was actually a trend which was happening every year. We had some specific months around April and others towards the end of the year based on the cyclones we get on the Indian Ocean, which is quite an interesting phenomenon where now this is being reported by a journalist. So this platform is very useful. And as we pause, let's just look at how the coastline service can be very useful, looking at the coastline of Kenya. Over time, there's trends that you can see how you can better inform communities. So Digital Africa has worked closely with different partners to make sure we develop courses that empower you. And also there's a course on the Coastline that is there in English and French, making sure that you're empowered and you get a certificate of completion. And this is just an example of some of the topics in the different courses. So in the Coastline course, we have introduction to how you can get the Coastline service in your dear Africa map. We also have how you can access it in the sandbox, how to use the coastal erosion notebook, as well as how to use the mangrove notebook. All in all, making sure that you're empowered, as well as other courses that we have in stock. So we have many ways of connecting with us, including the live sessions in English and French. And also you could visit our website as well. And also you could also write to us at info@digitalalthafrica.org, making sure that we connect with you and also acknowledging the ecosystem whom have held this program, especially the Australian government who funded the program, and also Helms the Trust and other partners who are also in this call who made sure that we continue for this long haul. And pausing here as we end, just a QR code also for you to provide us feedback, and also a way that we can now connect with you. And very grateful for the funders of this program for making sure that we connect all the countries in Africa, and especially sharing the good news of the Coastline service and other services that are in pipeline. And also pausing here for any question that any of you might have had, and also thanking you for making the time every week to connect with us. Thank you so much, everybody. So Joseph, will you have any question?